Hello everybody and welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. My name is Stefan. Thanks for coming to the channel and for your support. I'm shooting for 1,000 subs by sometime early spring. Help me get there, please. Anyway, this is the big 135 gallon display tank in my dining room, the only tank I have not in my fish room. The lights just went on and I have them come on in the mid-afternoon. And I don't change the timers for daylight savings, I just sort of go with it, but that's here nor there. You can see the windows to my apartment in the reflection here, and I apologize for that, but it gives you a sense of where I am. And there is some ambient light that gets into this room, but really very little. It's not a factor. So I wanted to talk a bit about water changes because I did one earlier today on all my tanks, and I'm pretty rigorous with water changes. I've been reading different takes on water changes, and I wanted to share with you mine. I believe in rigorous water changes for a number of reasons. Obviously the obvious ones to clean nitrates and other pollutants from your water, and of course that is a primary reason, but they also, and this is part and parcel to that primary reason, a water change always brings out the best behavior and color of my fish. I mean, I like to show off my tanks after water changes. Now I don't do that generally on my videos because I'm videoing different times than I'm doing water changes. I almost always do water changes with the lights off, and the reason I do that is because I run CO2 and I don't want to be changing water while I'm infusing CO2. It defeats the purpose. But also when the lights are off, the fish are not as distracted or disturbed by the tubes and the different things that have to happen during a 40% water change. And 40% is what I do or try to do, sometimes closer to half, sometimes closer to 30. And I document in a book along with my water parameters what I've done, so I can always be at least in the weekly mode. I tend to do water changes pretty religiously every once a week, and sometimes if there's been a problem, I've doubled that up. So I'm pretty, as I said, rigorous about water changes. And I've read a lot and heard a lot online about people who go the opposite direction, less is more. And I think that's not necessarily bad advice, especially if you're a shrimp keeper. I've seen a number of reports that too much water changes, especially for Caridina shrimps, can be detrimental. I wonder what your take on that is. But even though I keep a lot of shrimp, even in this tank, a mono shrimp in particular, I am not a shrimp keeper, so I don't adhere to that philosophy. But I have seen videos, just one earlier today as a matter of fact, where the shrimp keeper said he only started to get breeding when he began minimizing his water changes. But as you can see here, the tight schooling of the cardinal tetras and of the harlequin rasboras, the nice vigorous and bold statement fishes showing off, being slightly aggressive, high fins, all of that tends to come after a water change. If you get sluggish in your water changes, your fish seem to get sluggish too. Colors fade, they tend to just hang in corners near the top, sometimes in acute situations gasping for air, because you definitely need to do water changes to help bring in new oxygen, especially if your filtration is compromised. And I like to think that mine isn't, but I do notice an infusion of, as I said, excellent behavior, clear water, spawning behavior, a little bit more aggressiveness, all that stuff that you would attribute to healthy fish in the wild, you know, being on the lookout, being vigilant, sticking close with their own kind, and just being beautiful, right? So water changes, I mean, forget all the nitrogen cycle stuff for a second. Water changes help fish look their best. I mean, and in the end, or I should say in the beginning, the reason we get fish tanks is because we want the aesthetic, the beauty of them. I mean, that is what it's all about, honestly. I mean, we get caught up in the whole biotope and ecosystem, and you know, I have too. I love that. I spend more time nerding out, learning about this hobby than I do watching Netflix, to be honest with you. And so I'm supporting as many other content creators in this hobby as I possibly can. And if you hit me up and subscribe, I promise I'll do the same for you. I totally want to grow our channels together and just become deeper and deeper into this hobby. So for me, back to the topic, I guess loosely, the topic is this tank, but loosely stated, I do believe in rigorous water changes, but not necessarily purely for technical reasons, but just because I think it leads to a more beautiful tank, and I hope this one is proof of concept. I won't get into all the specifics of this tank today. You can tell the different fishes I have, and I certainly don't have to go through and name them: rainbows, angels, resboras, tetras. There's a super red bristlenose plecostomus. I did add some starby corridoras, young ones. I don't see any, but there's about a dozen in here. And I've got a double dozen, 24 Adelphi corridoras as well. And I'm not feeling them right now either, but then I'm not really looking for them. There's a rabbit snail, and then the cryptocurrent forest, of which I got a wonderful patch there, and another wonderful patch here. And I've talked about that in previous videos. I'm just gonna sort of fade out here and shut up and remind everybody to always do water changes and keep your hands in the tank. Ciao for now.